Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the gathering place. I'm going to wait for a couple of you to join me. I'm so excited about tonight's broadcast. As usual, I always ask for you all to log in, tell me where you're logging in from, and let me know what city, what state that you are in. So I'm excited. I'm gonna wait for some of you all to join us. Welcome to the gathering place. Welcome to the gathering place, everybody. We are here, we're ready. We're excited about tonight's broadcast and what we're going to be talking about. So as you're logging in, tell me where you're logging in from. What city? What state? Where are you? Where are you coming from? I'm excited. I cannot wait for us to talk about the relationship rehab. Let the men talk. It's going on tonight. So tell me, come on, tell me where you are logging in from. There we go. Huntsville, Alabama. Linda Richardson, hello from Sicklerville. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Keep bringing those in. Awesome. I'm excited. We've got some amazing men here tonight who are going to be talking to us about our relationships, right? And what's happening in our relationships. So tell me where you're logging in from. I see you all. Hey, how are you? Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Awesome. Thank you very much. Hey, back to you. Huntsville, Alabama. I love it. We got to come to Huntsville. Hello from Sicklerville. Awesome. Letitia from Richmond, Virginia. Awesome. Willingboro's in the house. Byron, Georgia is in the house. Awesome. Lindenwold, New Jersey. Warner Robins is in the house. Louisville, Kentucky. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Come on, keep getting those hearts going, ladies. And I want you to invite. I need you to share. Well, you can't share it because we're on a private page. But what you can do is you can begin to invite. Hit that invite button. Right over there. Hit that invite button. Let people know that they need to come in to this tonight. Get the hearts going for me. Our men are waiting behind the stage to talk to us. This is going to be like putting our ear like this to what the men have to say. So I'm still going to wait for a couple of you all to join me, because we're starting a little earlier. We normally start at 7:15 and we're starting a little earlier. Hi, Monica from Pleasantville. Awesome. Where else are you coming from? That's right. Upper Darby, Pensauken. Awesome. Awesome. Keep letting me know where you're coming in from. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me know where you're coming in from. Fantastic. Okay, listen, we have a lot. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to discuss. And I don't want to jump right in. I'm still waiting for a few of you to get in. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us. Lawrenceville, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasantville, Las Vegas. Yes, in-house. Thanks so much for joining us. Come on, as you log in, tell me where you're logging in from. Let me know what city, what state. I'm being the sound tech girl today and everything. So let me know where you're logging in from. Janice from Philadelphia. Awesome. I think we got you, Pensauken. Hello, we're glad to have you here as well. Nicholasville, Kentucky. Clayton, New Jersey. Philadelphia. Yes. Awesome. I'm so grateful that you guys are here. Raymond Rodriguez, thank you so much. Thank you, Facebook user, for joining us. Rhonda from Conshohocken, thank you for joining us. Listen, we have some awesome men backstage, And they're really, really, really going to be sharing with us women inside secrets about what is going on in our relationships and how we can be better. So hit invite. Taylorsville, North Carolina. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us tonight. Listen, while you all are joining and getting in, I want you to know that we have a promotion that is going on for Ignite Women's Empowerment Summit 2021. Listen, the sale ends this week, everybody. The sale ends this week. And I want you all to know that we've got an amazing conference for you in 2021. Our plan is to do it in person. That's right. In person, we are going to be at the Chase Center in Wilmington, Delaware, and November the 4th through the 6th. And right now we are holding a launch sale. We are holding a launch sale right now, and we want you to join us. We want you to get in on this sale of only $75 for 3 days. You cannot beat that, ladies. We've got Real Talk Kim coming, Pastor Joy Morgan, Karen Orlando, Pastor Raina, all of these wonderful women who are going to be coming. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have workshops for your business, workshops for your profession. We're going to have workshops in store for your relationships. We're going to have an awesome praise and worship team. We have JP Heath and Culture Shock. I love them. If you were here with us last year, you know they took us straight to glory. And then we have our favorite, well, they're both my favorite, but Anton Milton and Glorified, he's going to be with us. We're going to have workshops, panelist discussions, a fashion show presentation. We're looking to have a glam suite. You want to get these tickets. The sale ends Monday. The sale ends on Monday, $75. Don't text me on Tuesday on Facebook saying, I thought I tried. Nope. The sale ends on Monday, the 31st. We want you to come. We've got women coming from all over the country. And here's something else I need to tell you. These hotel rooms are going. They are going. When I tell you the spaces are limited, we are right now trying to find some other hotels in the area. But if you want to be real close to the convention center, I want you to log in. I want you to go right to our website. It is www.ignitesummit.org. And I want you to join us. We already have a ton of women who are coming, who have already registered. They have been getting these tickets for weeks, and you don't want to be left out. So there's that. And if we have some time in the end, actually, I'm going to play the video right now. I'm really proud of this video. It is a good promo video. So stay tuned. Watch this video as we go. Awesome. So you saw, I'm telling you, our last year's conference, 2019, we absolutely sold out of the entire building. And so that's why we had to take it up to the next step. So that is Ignite 2021. I'm so excited. I want you to join us. I don't want you to be left out. I'm telling you, you're going to hear about it. You're going to see it. Everybody's going to be posting about it because that's what we do at Ignite. And I don't want you to feel left out. So please, please, please go to www.ignitesummit.org. Get your ticket. It's only $75. And to have all of the caliber of speakers that we're going to have for only $25 a day, 3 days, I think you can't beat it. All right. So I'm jumping right in. I'm excited because we got a lot to talk about, girls. Some of y'all been on my phone. Y'all been asking me all these questions. I've been counseling people for years, and I get the privilege of bringing to the stage some of our top male voices who, honestly have a powerful say in relationships. They are experts in relationships. They have been doing relationship counseling. So I'm jumping right in, and I'm going to introduce our very first guest is Dr. George James. Now, if you watch the Today Show, you have seen Dr. George at least once a week. Dr. James is the Chief Innovation Officer, Senior Staff Therapist of the Council for Relationships. He is also an Assistant Professor for Couples and Family Therapy Program at Thomas Jefferson. He is President and CEO of George Talks. He's a communicator, a consultant. He has a consulting company. He has spoken with multiple businesses, media production companies, organizations, etc. He has been on and made appearances on the Today Show, CNBC, Nickelodeon, Good Day LA, Good Day Philadelphia, Radio One, and many, many, many others. And so I want you to welcome to the stage Dr. George James. Woo! Yay!
Yay!
Dr. George,
thank you.
How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I'm like, who's she talking about? She's talking about me.
Awesome. And then next we have Keith Hall, known for his interpersonal skills, his coaching, listening, and all-around approach. He has continued to empower and strengthen men of all ages. And I know this for a fact because Keith worked in my counseling department for many years as a counselor, and we co-counseled on many, many cases. But from boys to men, Keith has counseled, mentored, laughed, and cried with men from all over. He is a master's level counselor, coach, and ordained deacon. And many of the men have experienced life-changing conversations and interactions through Keith. He is a proud native of Camden, HBCU educated, father of two, son, brother, friend to some, and open to most. So I want you all to welcome to the stage Keith Hall. Hey Keith, how are you?
Hey Nikki, how you doing? Hey Doc, how you doing?
Thank you so much for joining us. And last but not least, my boo thing, my husband, Harold Brown, he is the VP of Physicians Network at Iredell Memorial Health System. He has an MBA in Business and Health Administration. He's a former CEO of Sterling Health. He is my lover, my best friend. He is an amazing father, an amazing husband. And he's overall, I say this about him, and I know y'all might think I'm biased, but I'm not. But overall, he really is a great person. He can get along with everybody. Some of the people on his job call him the mayor, and I would agree with that. So welcome to the stage, my hubby, Harold Brown.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
how you doing? Thanks for that introduction, babe.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and joining us at the gathering place, Ignite Women. We have been on this relationship journey, this relationship rehab journey for many weeks. And, you know, as a relationship expert, as a counselor, I have, and even myself going through the journey of really trying to be better at relationships, as women, we really struggle with this. We really, really, really struggle with our relationships. Some of it is because of hurts that we've had from our past. Some of it is because of relationships that we've been in now. You know, growing up, nobody ever shares or teaches us how to be healthy in relationships. We're not taught, you know, the rules of relationships. We learn it through the process, which I hate to say, but we learn it through the process. We learn it through time. We learn it through struggle. And I wanted us to bring the men together because as women, we are all, this is a conversation we have at least once a day, at least. And, you know, we talk to everybody, but sometimes the right body. I'm gonna say that again. We talk to everybody but the right somebody. And sometimes we have to bend our ear to the men in our life, especially the healthy men in our life, to really get a better balance of what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, as well as being able to take ownership of the parts that we play in our own relationships. And for some of us, we've got great, healthy relationships. And so they're listening. And I want you all to be able to take some of this information back to the people in your life that may not be as healthy. And then some of us are really here because we really need answers. And so when I prayed about this, I really said, God, give me the faces. And not being biased, I wasn't necessarily saying, oh, my husband has to definitely be on it. But God did show me my husband. And I said, what better person? He's got amazing wisdom. Me and Harold ran our couples ministry for over 10 years. And I've just watched him pour wisdom. And so each one of you I've had experience with, and I've watched what you've said and how you've interacted. And I trust the wisdom and judgment. So all of you all who are listening, towards the end, if you've got some questions, we're going to open it up. Lord Jesus, we're going to open this panel up for some discussion. So you can type in the panel. Type in the chat a question you may have when you hear us. Don't type it down because I'm not going to be able to see it. But the moment we open up questions, I want you to throw your question out there, and we're going to throw it and we're going to bounce it off to our guys, and we're going to allow them to answer. All right, we ready?
Ready.
Let's do this thing. All right. First up, I have a lot of friends who are on dating websites. A lot of them. And listen, I'm one of those type, I'm not opposed to dating websites. I think it's amazing. You know, years ago, it used to be like, oh my God, you met your husband or your man on a website or a dating thing. But now, you know, it really is something that allows us to expand ourselves, to gain access. You know, the Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Well, he ain't gonna find us in the house. Right. Okay, he ain't gonna find us in the kitchen. Now there's some people. I have a good girlfriend. I don't know if she's watching today, but she said, I told God, unless he shows up on my doorstep. Now, he actually did show up on her doorstep. They are getting married sometime this year, but that's an anomaly. That doesn't happen to everybody, right? Mr. Boaz ain't gonna just show up on your doorstep. So I have several friends who are on dating websites, and I want you all to throw out, what should we as women, if we're on this dating website and somebody hits us up, what should we look out for? What are some red flags that we should really kind of, caution ourselves against when we get on these dating websites? Because, some of my friends, they got on these dating websites and their phone just blew up. I mean, they were like, oh my God, I keep getting all these text messages, and they were not certain who should I respond back to, etc. So I'm gonna throw this softball out. If all of you can answer, I would love for all of you all to answer. But I'm gonna start with you, Dr. George.
First of all, I'm just excited to be here. Thanks, Nikki, for the opportunity. I love these two gentlemen that I'm on this panel with, and I'm excited for this question. So let me just get to it. When I think about like online websites and online dating, it's just a necessity. It's just where we are. As you said, Nikki, at one point it would be one of those things like, what? You found a man through the classifieds? What's wrong with you? Right? Mm-hmm. Like who does that? But it is normal. I think at one point we used to say about 50%. I think it's more than that. And now when you think about a pandemic, like with all the things that we had to go through of trying to find somebody, online is going to be the way, or one of the ways, the premier way that you can do it. And I would just say there's certain things you don't want to put your whole history, your whole life, your whole. We don't need to find all your favorite top 5 Bible verses on there, right? We don't need we don't need to know the names of your cat or your dog, right? We need enough information to get to a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
We need a nice picture that will make us interested, right? But don't show us too much. Don't go, because then we'll put you in a different category. We won't put you in the category of thinking that, okay, maybe this is somebody that I want to get to know over time. You're going to get put in the category of somebody I want to know to have sex with, right? Like, so be mindful of what is it that you're putting out there. Give the information, but you don't have to give all the things, and you don't got to be super deep right away. I know there's a lot more I could say, but I'm going to leave it for the other 2 guys to fill in the rest.
And there's something you said, George, that I want to come back to. But yeah, I'm going to let the other guys answer. What do you all think? What should we be watching out for? Red flags on dating websites.
I think when you think about dating, you put yourself first. I think that's the most important thing, is you put yourself first when you're dating. So when you're doing it online, continue to do the same thing. Put yourself first. Be proactive with it. Continue to put yourself first. If you're taking pictures, make sure that you're in the middle. If you have about, like George said, several pictures on there, you have about 4 or 5 other ladies with you. Just make sure that you're the center of attention. Different shots and everything. But you, like George says, you don't want to put your cats or your dogs on there, the names and everything. But you do want to be discreet. You certainly want to make sure that you stand out. I think that's one of the most important things. And just take your time. Enjoy that process. Have fun with it. Not too detailed at all, but just have fun with it. Go to each and every website or dating website and enjoy the process and enjoy the experience. I think that's important, the enjoyment aspect of it.
Yep.
That's good.
And I'll jump in too. And as far as dating websites is concerned, I guess you can say that I'm a little rusty. I've been out of the dating game for about 25 years now.
A long time.
And you will not find a profile of me on any dating website, soliciting any other action and attention. So let me just put that out there. I do have a daughter. Our daughter is 18. And so, as Dr. James started out with, this is really just something that is part of the staple of society. I'm coming from an era and age, kind of feel old with me saying that, but I come from an era and an age where, dating online was something that was taboo, that nobody did, that only the desperate went after. But I think Dr. James mentioned, one, with the changes in time and technology, people becoming more and more comfortable with technology. And then 2, the pandemic, which has forced everyone inside. And with this being one of the only options, it is a necessity. And so to your question, what should we or they look out for? One, I think just kind of stepping back and looking at the fact that dating websites and dating in general, what is that all about? It's about putting yourself out there and letting others see the person that you want them to see. Not necessarily the person that you are, but the image of the person that I want you to believe that I am, right? And so with that, so I guess one of the dangers is that, this whole dating website, can create a facade, of, who I know, the me that I know that would be attractive, to others and other females. And so I think some of the things that I would caution is, that person who's unwilling to do a video chat. You can put a picture, you can be 34 years old, but you got that picture of yourself when you were 25 in your bikini on that beach. And that's the one
that's everywhere.
You put that one up there, or you put that picture of The Rock and say, yeah, this is my brother. So I think one of the things is, to be cautious of those who are unwilling to video chat. And also, I think the big one is those who are unwilling to meet. Yeah. Yes, this is COVID. Yes, we're still social distancing, but you know what? We're still getting together. And guess what? If I strike a vibe with you and we're going back and forth for days or for weeks, there's gonna come a chance, or there's gonna come that moment when we have to meet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, Dr. George, you said this, and I wanted to jump back in it, and all of you touched on it, where you said, be careful what you're, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It's, what are you marketing? And this is something that we talked about in our relationship rehab class maybe a couple of weeks ago. What is your marketing plan, right? What are you marketing to the public? What are you teaching them about you? And so share a little bit about that. What do you what's to a guy, what's too much? Like what physically, what is it that makes you say that girl I could take home, or that girl's going to a hotel?
I think not only physically, but you don't want to put a representative out there. You want to put you out there, and not all of you, but you certainly want to put you out there. Some of you, some of who you are. You want to share that and be okay with it. Be you. Those are one of the most important things to do, is to simply be you and trust your gut. Dr. George mentioned it earlier. If you went out there in a bikini, gentlemen, we're going to look at that and say, all right, I am going to certainly put her in this category. This is not who I'm looking for friendship, for a relationship. This is someone I can possibly have some fun with, possibly have some sex with, however he goes about it throughout his journey. But if it's if that's not you, put you out there. It doesn't have to be a business suit, but just some casual clothes, something on a regular day. I think men we are visual, but we also like some normalcy when we looking at a picture. I think we want to continue to desire, what needs to come later on, not right away. I think that's crucial.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would add that, for most of us, like, as was mentioned, we are definitely visual, right? So we want to see some stuff, right? But we don't need to see all of it online, right? Because then we're like, in my mind, I'm going to start to think that, like, well, then you showing this to everybody, right? Like, so on some level, it's to be able to, like, to get to know you, right? To know that, like, there's chemistry, that you can have fun, that you want to flirt. But I think one of the biggest things that I see is that, yes, there's an end goal. But sometimes people start with the end goal, like, on day one. That's too much, right? Like, all right, hear me right? I know I'm the therapist and all this other stuff. I don't need to hear about your sexual assault. I don't need to know about all those things in day one. I don't need to hear all the things that you've been through right away. Give me some time to get to know you. Give me some time to get comfortable. And so sometimes people do that online. Sometimes people do that on the first check-in. Sometimes people do it on the first date. It is just too much. So I want you to be real. I want you to show yourself, but I also want you to take your time. And I know that's hard when maybe you've been waiting for a minute, or maybe the last guy was a deadbeat, or maybe the last situation didn't work out. So you're trying to get there quickly. But I'm not that guy, or whoever you're talking to is not that guy. So just try to slow down.
Yep. And I guess I'll jump in, and I guess my mind goes all over the place with this question. But I'll try to, focus on maybe 2 points. One is, what guys are looking at these dating websites. So what is the intention? And if the intention, for someone is, to hook up and have sex, then guess what? My mind or my eyes are going to go to the cleavage, the breast area, the waist, the legs, all of that, so, and that's where it's going to go, because I'm looking for a physical encounter. However, if I'm looking for a relationship, then there's a lot more that I'm going to be looking at. I still want an attractive woman, but there are other aspects that I'd like to be able to see. And so if you can tell that, if you're able to tell that story in pictures, that'll be nice, because I think that, I was going to say most men, but most people, I think, just are attracted by the visual. And so before we get to reading the words, we're going to look at the pictures, and we're going to look at how you, look in your attractive attire. We're going to look at how you look in your day-to-day attire. And, so yeah, I don't want to see, 7 pictures of, different bikinis, because guess what? If that's how you go to bed, how you wake up, how you live your life, and how I'm going to see you all the time, then maybe that's good. But if there are other aspects of you, then I would like to be able to see those other aspects.
Yeah.
And I think as far as, what is too much, I think one of the things to realize about guys is that, we're entering relationships with our own, vulnerabilities and, feelings that, we've got to measure up. And that even is in relationships. And so some women talk about the fact that, or not just women, sometimes you hear, that, a woman isn't with a man because she's too intimidating. And on some level, there is some truth to that. And so if we're being honest and we're talking, we can talk about that even on dating websites, because if I see something and because of my own insecurities, and shortcomings, I'm intimidated, by somebody, then I'm not going to be attracted to that person. So how do you get around that? I think Dr. James kind of put that out a little bit just by saying you don't want to put too much out there, because to be honest, we're all bringing a lot of baggage that's scary into relationships. And so if you can simply try to introduce yourself without giving us too much of a peek under the hood into all of that baggage, then, maybe I won't be so scared.
This is, I want to come back to this topic, because I can hear the women in the room screaming like, I can't be worried about who's intimidated by me, and I need to come back to this, because I think, Harold, you bring up a really great point. And before I go on, I want to reset the room. There are many of us who are joining just now. Welcome to the gathering place, ladies. This is called Let the Men Talk in our Relationship Rehab series. And we've got some amazing guests. I'm not going to go back through. You can, go back later and look at the stream at the very beginning. But we're talking about dating websites, and we're not just going to be talking about dating. We are going to be talking about marriage tonight. We're going to be talking about relationships. So I don't want you to jump off and think that we're just going to be talking about single women. We're not, because all 3 men have had experience talking, dealing with, counseling, working with, and they've had their own experience and journey in being single, dating, as well as being married. So I wanted to try to bring a panel together that can talk from all different aspects. So welcome, because I see you all, you're still joining. And if you have a question, if you're talking to the screen, write the question down. Please do not just ignore it. Write the question down, because we are going to open this panel tonight for you to get the questions. So if any of you have questions about that whole intimidation thing, and how should I be to not be intimidating? I think that's a very great question, because many of us as women, and I'll say this about myself. I was raised by an Amazon woman. That means I was raised by a woman who had to learn how to survive. She's a strong Black woman. All of her sisters are strong. And so she taught me to be strong. She taught me how to talk and open my mouth. I'm loud. I'm opinionated. People who are around, and so that can be intimidating. And for someone in my seat, I may say, well, I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. That makes a man comfortable, but that's not balance. And so we got to come back to that. But before we come back to that, we'll come back to that a little later. Here's the question that I have. So you meet somebody, right? We meet the guy, whether it's on a dating website or not. Let's get past that, right? And he's talking to us on the phone. He's calling us. He's texting us. And I have several friends who are experiencing this right now. And so I promised that I was going to bring the question, like, I got a question, guys. And it doesn't feel like he's really that interested. Like, and what I mean by that is he's calling, he's talking, he's texting, but it doesn't seem as if he's really that into me. This is what they're saying, meaning he's not really working to hook up. Let's get together. There's no strong initiative, but he's calling every other day. He's sending text messages like, "Hey, beautiful." What do we do with that? Like, how do we manage that? What is that? No, here's the question. What does that say? What does that say? I'm gonna throw it straight to Keith first, and then everybody else.
I think one of the most important things, we go back to the last question, is if she puts herself first. That's so important, putting herself first. You then can determine his direction. Listening to what he's saying, watching his actions, his consistency is so important. Versus what he's saying. I'm sorry, versus what he's saying. So if you're watching his consistency throughout the week, that's important in terms of how you can flow throughout the relationship. He's showing you and not telling you how he feels about you. He's more so showing you some more actions, and he's consistent with, let's meet on Thursday at 7 o'clock. And he's there at 6:45, 7 o'clock. He's communicating with you often about his intentions. And I think that's crucial because you're still putting yourself first in that space. So I think when you're listening, and women, listening is not being analytical. I think that's and listening to
break that down. What does that mean?
Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah.
I think listening to what he says and not analyzing what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And listening to what he says on Wednesday, not referring to what he said or bringing things up to and assuming what he meant 2 weeks ago and last month and 3 months ago, and now they come together and this is what he meant, but that's not what he said. So I think that's important, to listen to what he says and not analyze his communication and how he's communicating. So I think that's a very crucial point in determining his interest in you. I think it's very important to just sit there and listen, and more so watch his actions. Watch his consistency, not just throughout the week, but through the months. When you guys are meeting up, when you guys are gathering together, when you guys are dating. I think that's important.
Okay, but let's say we're not dating. We're not. There's no official nothing. There's no title.
Okay.
We've just met, and I don't mean just met. Let's say we've met. We've been talking for 7 months, 8 months.
Okay.
On the phone. That's it. Because it's a pandemic. Let's talk about this time right now. Because I'm going to talk about how long is too long to be dating. But we're talking, it's the pandemic. We met. And there really isn't a lot of like, hey, when this is over, I can't wait to. There's this sense of, I love talking to you, but there isn't a strong feeling of, I want to take this to the next step, or even having a conversation about it. So,
Yeah.
What is that?
I'll say this. I think there's a couple categories, right? I think there are some men out there who might not know what the next step is, right? Are trying to figure it out, right? I think there's a group of guys who will, like, it might be new or fresh to them, or they're trying to figure out, am I doing the right thing? What should be next? What's appropriate? I think that's a group of folks. So just to keep that in mind. But overall, right, what I think about is that if you are not playing games, right, if you're not testing him at every moment to see, I think part of what I was hearing with Keith, to see is what he said on Wednesday morning the same thing he said Wednesday night. If you're not trying to play those games, trust your gut, right? Trust what you feel and what you sense, right? You probably sense, well, maybe he's talking to somebody else. He probably is. Maybe he's interested in somebody else.
Oh, no!
He probably is, right? So and he's just trying to make sure that he has options, which is part of what we do and part of what lots of people do in dating, right? People are dating multiple people, or as you said, they're not dating, they are talking, right? They are casually interacting with other people until they get to the place of something more solid or significant. So trust yourself, right? But at the same time, if you're playing games with him, if you're giving him mixed signals, then he won't know what to do either. So you got to check yourself too.
Yep.
Okay.
I say that just riding along with Dr. James and Keith, actions speak louder than words. So if he's saying something but not doing it, then I think on one side of the fence, then yes, you've got to be very cautious about that, because he could be straight out lying. He doesn't want a relationship.
Absolutely.
And so maybe something to test that, if he's saying he wants to be with you, but he's not really showing interest, he's not really texting back, he's not really calling, shoot him a text and ask him if he wants sex. No, I'm just, and see what his response.
Hey, that's gonna work.
now,
Nobody take that advice, please.
You invited us.
Now, hey, you invited me here to talk, right? So if there's a reaction to that, then guess what? You know where his mind is.
Right.
And Harry, we're having a little trouble hearing you, so I don't know if you can turn up your volume or not.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, so what you're saying, while he's getting that together, what you're saying is, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So actually, I was joking a little. I was joking a little bit when I said that. But my serious point is, I think one of two things is happening. Either he's lying, and he is interested in interacting with you and talking with you, but he's not interested in a relationship, or he's scared and or nervous.
Okay.
During this time of social media, social dating, things have gotten kind of awkward, as well. I say that we don't have the same social skills as we had, before all these social medias and, texting and everything else. So I think there's a level of social awkwardness. The thing that came to my mind when I thought about it is, I can tell my wife that I want to go to the Grand Canyon, and I do. I want to, I've heard all about it, and, the scenery and everything else. I can say that I want to go there. But guess what? If you take me there, I may start acting like I don't want to go. I don't want to get out the car. Why? Because me and heights don't really get along all that well. And so what was I lying by saying that I wanted to go to the Grand Canyon, but when we got there, I didn't want to go to the edge or the cliff, like my wife sitting on the edge of the mountain. So was I lying? No, but I was scared, got cold feet and didn't want to fully commit. So I'm just trying to draw a parallel between one of the reasons why a guy may say something, but then not act on it. One could be because he's lying and he's just being untruthful and, yada, yada. But the other thing is, maybe he's really scared of commitment and he is either afraid or not really ready to jump to the next level, which that does not invalidate what he's been saying all along.
Okay, so that's good. So let me throw in another caveat. Let's say he has not said at all that he wants to have a relationship, but we met on a dating website. Or my girlfriend hooked us up and maybe we went on one date, but we've been talking on the phone ever since. And he's not mentioning wanting to have a relationship. I haven't mentioned that I want to have a relationship. At what point should the talk happen? And that because I'm going to come back to this question, same question. There's this fear of appearing pressed, like I'm desperate. I need, and I do know women who are pressed. They second conversation, they're like, I ain't got time to be full. Okay, because I'm like 40 something. I got my own car. I don't need your car. I got my own, they just kind of come right through the door. Right. And, and a part of me gets that because we get to a point, you're in your 30s, your 40s, you done been around the block. You're tired of it. And you just don't feel like doing all this casual cat and mouse stuff. Right. But at the same time, you all also realize that you don't want to appear pressed. So when, he's not saying anything. He's not saying a word. And there has been no commitment of a relationship, but I'm getting vibes, but I'm not getting vibes. So when is it appropriate to have the talk, and who should start that talk?
I'll jump out there. Yeah, I think that it's a really important thing, and I really love what Harold, what you shared, and the analogy, and because once again, I do think there are some guys that are really trying to figure out, and one of the things that we don't talk about is that there are some guys that really like you and appreciate like that they feel comfortable and safe, right? But they might not want you for a relationship, and that's tough, right? Like I've heard like a lot of situations where like that's my homie, that's my best friend. I could tell her anything, but I don't necessarily want to be in a relationship with her. And so sometimes you also have to weed out, is this like an emotional connection, right? And so some guys might be cool hanging out, talking with you, but they're not trying to go further, maybe because they're scared, maybe because of whatever happened last, but also because of what they're dealing with. So then to your point, like when this question should come up, I think like if you feel like you...
So help me understand this. So are you saying that a guy, I see you laughing, Keith. I'm really getting information because I need clarity. So he can be on the phone with me. He may even take me out a couple times, right? He's talking to me, and it's a consistent conversation. We're talking every 2-3 days. We're texting each other, etc. Are you saying that he can give all those signs, but really he doesn't want a relationship? He just wants a companion?
Yeah, I think like for a lot of guys, we're not always taught to like be able to talk about our emotional needs, and so we just start to do it and find it. And honestly, sometimes, especially my work, that's how affairs happen, right? They're not having that with their partner. They're not having that connection, but yet they'll do that with somebody else. And it's just like, oh man, this person at work or this person, somebody else, they just get me. I can talk to them about anything, but when I come home, I can't. The same thing happens when people are just talking or dating, right? They might be looking for a companion, but some folks might not realize that's where they are. They just like, no, I don't really feel her like that. I don't really want to be with her like that, but like she's good people. Like we can hang out, we could talk. And so sometimes it's meeting an emotional need. And I think for some guys, they have to realize that's what they want. And once they realize that, then they can move forward and actually date that person. But they might still be stuck on, she has to fit all these other categories.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? When, I asked 2 questions, which is it true that a guy can show you these signs of interest in you, but not necessarily interested in a relationship? And what I'm hearing Dr. George say is yes. So with that being said, when should we have the talk? And should I initiate that talk? And when should I initiate that talk? Like how long into this should I initiate the talk of what are we doing?
Establish your boundaries. Just establish your boundaries. How long do you want to wait? What do you want? When do you want to have this conversation? I know there's been for decades this. I'm giving him 5 years. If we ain't married by 5 years, I'm gone.
Well, wait, don't go to that. Wait, don't go to that part yet, because I'm getting ready to ask the question: how long is too long to be dating before married? This is how long should I even have to talk about? Are we dating? Like right now, this is a situationship.
Right. And in the situationship, still create boundaries. Still create those boundaries where, if you get a sense that in your gut feeling that this is not going anywhere, you can still have that conversation. Take the lead, have that conversation, where, you want to establish boundaries. And if you haven't heard him say anything during this time period about a relationship, I think you may have your answer at that point, that he doesn't want this relationship, or he doesn't want to take it to a relationship. So just establish your boundaries, what it is that's a deal breaker and what's not a deal breaker, and continue to, if you're dating, you still got other friends that you may be talking to, or you may not be talking to, because women do have their emergency phone calls that they can make, where they can reach out to others as well. So I think that's important to establish your boundaries, and when you feel comfortable that to make that, look, we need to talk. We need to talk. Let's have this conversation on where this relationship or where our friendship could possibly go and what it looks like for you.
I like that. Now, should I have that in the first week?
No. And that's where I was going to jump in. I was just going to, just piggyback off what the two of them really said is, if you ask me the question, it's kind of hard to give a, hardcore, answer,
Right.
6 months, 12 months, 18 months. For me, it's got to be organic. It's got to make sense. I think, the Bible talks about us being, equally yoked. And, when we hear that verse, we always go to, being spiritually on the same page, but I also think that we also need to be emotionally, on the same page.
Okay.
And so what that means is, I can't, if I'm thirsty for a relationship, I can't enter every single encounter with a man and on the second thought, well, how are you feeling about our relationship? I think that's too premature and too soon, and then you're going to get into the whole intimidation thing and warding men off. Yes. So again, I think it's organic. Every adult that I've learned from and heard from has taught me that you've got to get to know her first. So start to develop a relationship, and the same thing for women and men. Get to know him first. And then when you're at, I think Dr. James was kind of touching on this, and Keith, when you're at the point when you are really thinking and contemplating within yourself, and you've grappled with, the friend zone versus something more, and you're kind of teetering toward the something more.
Yeah,
I think it's unfair to yourself and unfair to him if you continue to hold that within yourself, just kind of hoping and walking, because at that point, you're no longer on one accord emotionally. Your mind is here, and his mind is, to Dr. James' point, his mind is, just trying to go get something to eat. And
can we chill?
Yeah, and I think that's unfair. So.
I can't take it.
Yeah, so with the level of integrity, I think to Keith's point, you can introduce something without being scary.
Okay.
If I could just add one more quick thing is 2 parts. Don't let your girlfriends gaslight you, right? Like sometimes, right? Like you've been hanging out with somebody, and the people in your ear are going to tell you, "Oh, he should be doing something. He should have said something by now," and that might fast track you, and you're not even there yet. True. Right? So some of it is just, allow yourself to kind of go with what's happening. And the last thing to what I think Keith and Harold said, if you feel like you're at the place where you're compromising yourself, or you feel guilty, you either had sex or you don't want to have sex, or you feel like you want to, but there isn't anything like firm yet of what's happening, like that's obviously a point where you, as Keith mentioned, you have a boundary. That's okay to then say that and be clear, so that, as Harold said, that he knows that, and that he doesn't have to feel like, all right, now I understand where you are. Because when there's boundaries, a lot of guys will respect that.
Yeah.
Let me just add one more thing, in that, because I think part of this is looking into the mindset of a man. And I think that one of the things that, one of the fallacies is that, men aren't emotional, and men don't want relationships, and men don't want to fall in love. I guarantee the thing is, we don't want to put it out there because we don't want to appear vulnerable.
That's good.
We don't want to wear our emotions on our sleeve. We don't want to say, I love
It's
you.
really
We
good.
don't want to show. So we don't want to do that. But the same thing that's going on in your mind is the same thing that's going on in my mind, which is, you know what? I've been with this woman for, we've been talking for months, and you know what? I really feel that she's the one, and I could be thinking that and feeling that for weeks, but not want to put it out there. And so guess what? My grandparents, come from a time when, the men approached the woman,
Right.
and, you use the verse, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And
Right.
so the man has to chase, but, I challenge that a little bit because I know plenty of successful couples, and it was the woman who proposed to the man or chased the man.
Right.
And so I'm not telling you to run and chase. What I'm telling you is that I think, to Dr. James's point, is that to be honest with yourself. I think being honest with yourself is also being honest with him, because you may be surprised with what comes back.
And I like that. Go ahead, Kate, but let me jump.
I just wanted to add, just to also enjoy the moment. I really wanted to add that, to enjoy the moment. You may create a wedding in your mind already after week 2.
Oh, we got the wedding, honey. Listen. We're on baby number 3.
Right.
We're on house number 2.
Right. Enjoy the moment.
Okay, so enjoy the moment. I love all of this. And definitely, Harold, I love when you said we're just as vulnerable and nervous. We as women, we have not been taught that. I grew up in a house full of men. I have no sisters. And so it was nothing but testosterone around me. And I just didn't see that level of vulnerability. And there was nothing in society to teach me that, men, because we rejected boys all the time. We're like, get out of here, ugly,
and we walked away crushed.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Because we didn't see you crying. And of course, we were allowed to be more emotional. We didn't know, we rejected boys all the time. Like, ew, he stinks. We did all of that. And we didn't know that inside it was creating wounds that mature into adulthood, that make men nervous about pursuing even a conversation about what we're doing. So ladies, hear this. This is good stuff. You're putting your ear to the boys' room. This is stuff that they're not going to tell you on a regular. The average bear isn't going to tell you this, guys. Okay. But no, this is really good because it's helping us to enjoy the moment, to just take a step back, but also to not be afraid to have a conversation, or assuming that because he didn't have the conversation with us, that he's not interested, that he doesn't seem invested. He might. You ladies listening, you might be throwing off a marketing that says you're unbothered. You might be throwing off a vibe or an energy because maybe you've got walls up, right? And yes, you're answering the phone, and yes, you're talking, but how does he know that you actually like him? Well, he should know if I'm on the phone. He doesn't know. He hasn't been with you your whole life to know, your proclivities and what Nikki would normally do if she doesn't like a person. He hasn't been around all of your relationships to see your patterns. And so we may have to have that conversation and that talk in a gentle way. Gentle. See, I gotta take a pause, guys. I gotta take this pause. This is for all my Amazon women out there. You need to have the talk. And what I hear them saying is this: you have to establish your own boundaries. At what point, and they're not week 1, y'all. That's what everybody's saying. Don't go in week 1, 2. I'm even gonna go and say not week 3 or 4. You start getting to month 2 and 3. And see, this is why I say you should do it, because of social media and phones, we're talking a lot more. We're talking more often. and we're getting to know each other a little quicker than we probably would have 10, 15 years ago, right? So you're going into month 2, month 3, and that question mark starts above your head. I don't think it's wrong to say, hey, we've been talking. I think you're really cool. I'm excited about you being a part of my life, or possibly, what do you feel about me? So far, what are you thinking about us? The next step for this. Right. Don't say, what do you think about us? Don't frame it into us, because that sounds like marriage. What do you feel about, where we are right now, and where would you like to see this go? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it again for all those that might be taking notes. You can have the conversation. You can have the talk. Yeah. Making sure you're in balance, but also understanding, coming to this individual knowing that I'm coming to this person who may be nervous and afraid, and that doesn't make him weak because he's afraid that you're going to see him as being weak. You see what I'm saying? So we have to be very honorable with approaching someone with a question that exposes a level of vulnerability. Now, if you get back and answer like, so I'm gonna throw this out to y'all. If you get back and answer like, well, what we're doing is cool, I just kind of want to keep it. Right. Which is ambiguous. It's ambiguous. Or I just kind of want to keep getting to know you. I want to take things slow. Right. But let's say we have been talking for 10 months. And I just want to take things slow. What does that say? What should we, pretend like you're on the phone right now. What should our response be as women? If someone says, I just want to take it slow, and we've been taking it slow and it's been 8, 9 months.
Wow. I think you want to be clear on what that means. What does taking it slow mean? What does you want to ask him? What does taking it slow mean? And let him explain what that means for him. And you don't want to put him in a position where he has to defend his comment, but you do want to lay it out and ask him just so you guys can be clear. What does that mean? Because for him, Dr. James mentioned it, Harold mentioned it earlier. I may just simply be trying to figure things out. So when you ask him that, what does taking it slow mean? You've given him that opportunity to let you know, what does that look like for him? And it can look like so many things, but you certainly want to get a greater understanding of what does taking it slow mean. And for men, I'm sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
No, I said that's good. Yes.
No, for men, it's, he could have some other things that he has to do or handle before he goes into this relationship with you, before the tone is set. Let me finish some things on this side first so I can totally focus on you and us, so I think that's important to really be clear on what does taking it slow mean.
And then I think, just to reiterate what Keith said, just with different words, is expectations are key. I think expectations are what make and break relationships. It's expectations that my expectation. So I'll jump to marriage. So thinking about marriage, my expectations of what a husband is, what a wife is, what my role is, what yours is, that expectation, unless we're on the same page or in the general zip code, unless we're in the same area, ballpark, there are going to be some issues, going forward. And so backing up to this whole phone conversation way before marriage, I think expectations start there. When you say, the guy, when he says taking it slow, I mean, what does that mean? Because I can tell you that, taking it slow may mean, what, let me get off this phone, think a little bit, I'll call you back in the morning and I'll tell you where we're going. Or taking it slow may mean, and I know some women listening have been here, taking it slow may mean 6 years later, we're still talking on the phone, talking about taking it slow. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
No,
so
sir.
I can tell you, that there have been some, and
Mm-hmm.
if some will share in the chat, they have been there or they are there, and so what does taking it slow mean? And
Yeah.
so to Keith's point, however you question that or challenge that, but it's a healthy question or a healthy challenge.
Yeah, right.
It's not, I'm tired of taking it slow. I'm
Right.
ready to move. But no, it's I'm invested in this relationship. I
That's
believe
right.
you are. I believe you are. And so, with us being on the same page, what does that look like? I'm willing to wait, but what does that look like?
Okay. And that is good. That is good. And listen, I want to reset the room again because more people are kind of joining. Welcome to Relationship Rehab. Let the Men Talk panel discussion. We have only gotten to 2 questions, which is, what do you look for in dating websites? And what are some red flags? And what happens if you're talking, you're in a situation, we haven't even defined this, and he seems like he's interested, but he's kind of not. He's kind of not taking a lot of initiatives and steps. What do we do? And then when should we have the talk? All right. So we got to keep moving. Listen, I'm already telling y'all now, because we're not going to get to everything. And listen, girls, I see y'all posting questions. I said, wait. They in there posting questions right now. Like, hold on. Okay, hold your question, guys. Hold your question. I am going to open it up. I am going to take some questions. Give us about 10, 15 more minutes, okay? So here's the question. How long? This is a big one. We've been dating and engaged. No, we've been dating for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. I'm not going to put a year to it. How long is too long to be in a relationship with someone who says they kind of want to marry me, but they're not taking any steps forward? And we're hearing, well, I'm not ready yet. Or there ain't no other woman but me. I'm rocking with you. Like, it ain't why we got to rush into it? Like, why can't we just chill? Like, I got you. We gonna be married. Like, there's nobody else for me. I'm not going anywhere, right? And so, how long? I have counseled women who come to me in my office and they're like, we have been dating for 10 years. Like, they're common law at this point. I have counseled women who have lived with their partner for 6, 7, 5, 6 years, and they're supposedly engaged. How long is too long? I mean, honestly, and at what point as women do we, again, how do we begin to address this with our significant other? I love this man. We've been together forever. This is my baby daddy, or whatever we say. We've been together for so long. We've been off and on. Like, he checks all my boxes, but he just keeps saying he's not ready to get married. And we're talking to our girlfriends about, he got 1 more year. Well, that year came and went. Then I said, well, he got 1 more year again. And then it's been 6, 7, 8 years, 9 years that we're dating. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And women are like, he's such a great guy. He's got such a great heart. Or we've been dating for 3 years and he wants to move in with me, but he's not ready to get married. He says he's not sure when, but I'm definitely the one. Talk to us.
So a couple of thoughts that I had. One of the things is that I think for a lot of people in general, but I think for a lot of women, you're not willing to go. You're not willing to say it's over, I'm done. And one of the reasons is that, and we all struggle with this, there's this phrase called sunk cost, right? Which means that we put too much time in to let go, right?
Say it one more time, George. Say that.
It's called sunk cost, right? The amount of time that I put in, energy I put in, money I put in. We calculate all of this stuff and we're like, well,
of investment.
Right. We're like, all right, I can maybe wait another like 6 months. And then we do it again, another 6 months, then another year, because we're not willing to go because we feel like we will have lost too much. But now you're in it for 8 years. Now you're in it for 10 years. So you first got to ask yourself, like, are you willing to step? Are you willing to move? And are you willing to deal with the loss? Because loss is going to be there no matter what. Right? And so that's one part. The other part, you know, in kind of connection to the last question in this, is that sometimes there is a lot that is going on for him. He could be thinking about like a lot of different things. And unfortunately, from the guys I work with, the guys that I know, the guys that I've talked with, they might be, I'm afraid of divorce. So I will do everything else but get married. I will live with you. I'll have babies with you. I'll do all this stuff, but I don't want to get divorced. Even though, yes, it doesn't make sense, but deep down, that's part of my struggle. Or I'm thinking about, I'm trying to get the money right. I'm trying to do all those things. And because I'm so focused on that, I'm losing sight on the relationship, the family, and all those things. So there could be a lot of other things, but it still comes back to you if you're willing to be okay with that. Because I've seen not an ultimatum, but boundaries. Once again, we've been saying this today.
Boundaries.
Like that I'm like, look, I get it that you might have some stuff to work on, but I realize I'm not willing to wait another 2 more years. And that's just where I am.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, George, I think that's a good point. And, you know, I think that the concept of the sunk costs and being afraid to leave, you know, what I've invested in, I think is huge and critical. I think, again, just when I was coming up and what how I was told or taught was that, you know, dating was really just a period where you were testing the relationship for marriage. You know, so it wasn't a casual thing. You know, if I'm dating you, especially, you know, if I'm older, you know, out of high school or out of college, you know, if I'm seriously dating you, then I've already got in the back of my mind that I want to marry you. And so with that concept, I would say that, you know, so I'm going to throw out a time, you know, 2 to 5 years, because that's been some time to, you know, I've heard, and, you know, Nikki says, you've got a summer and winter with a person, and you've got to do that at least twice.
Right.
Because you've got to at least do that twice, you know, so that's where the 2 years comes in. Where the 5 year comes in my mind, is you may be getting with someone who is coming out of their bachelor's degree, about to jump into a PhD program, and they're just not trying to be focused and sidetracked on, you know, everything that comes along with the responsibilities of the quote unquote marriage. And so I think that to be able to wait another 4, 5, or 6 years with that in mind, because of that excuse, I think is a good excuse. But I think one of the reasons why, you know, women aren't able to wait, again, just to George's point, is that they're afraid to put the relationship on the line in terms of putting an ultimatum on the line. You know, either we get serious and we get married, or I move on. Again, I think it comes back to expectations and, you know, us being on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the 2 to 5, Harold. I certainly like the 2 to 5. It gives you that opportunity to really see the person 360. You know, you get to see them, you know, in each facet. You know, you're certainly going to be in so many different situations where you have to figure things out, you know, where you have to watch them, observe them, you know, when they're at their high and when they're at their low, how are things going to go? And that 2 to 5 will actually give you that opportunity to decide and to know, is this where I really want to go, you know, forever, you know, because that's what we talk about when we're talking about marriage. It's forever. So it's that time frame I certainly think is important, you know, and I think on an individual basis, you know, Harold mentioned, you know, where this gentleman may be, the space that he's in during that time, you know, he certainly may have things going on, you know, and we do know guys that will use that as an excuse. just to hold on. But at times there are men that do have other things going on, whether it's family, whether it's their personal, whether it's their career, their professional life. I think that being taken into consideration, I also think that's important. So, I do like that 2 to 5, Harold, and because you get a chance to see, them in all aspects.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Again, if we're trying to get inside a man's head, so part of at least getting in my head with this is that if I want to marry you, then I'm going to do what it takes, to move this thing along, right? Because I want to be with you. I want to be living with you. I want to be acting like we are married. However, if we are already living together and we're already acting married, then you know what? I no longer have that urge and drive and intensity to act like we're married because we're already doing that.
Okay.
So because
I hope y'all are listening, girls.
Yeah, just like women have this idea of what the marriage is like, and there's an internal drive, right, to get there because of you're chasing what you want. The same thing is happening in the mind of guys. Now, we're not thinking about this marriage with this wedding and the dress and the train and all that.
Not at all. Not at all.
No,
we got plans, big plans.
Yeah, no, that's not our mind. But where our mind is, we're thinking about a family. We're thinking about
absolutely.
Being mature, having kids, having a house, having a job.
Right.
We're thinking about all these things, but and so there's an internal drive to get there. And so if we're dating, and yes, living separately, there's a drive, that in an urgency, that I'm going to put things together in order to move you out of your parents' house.
Right.
But if we're already living there, what is my urge? What is different in year one, unmarried? How is that different than year one, married, which may be 4 years after we've already been living together?
Wow.
And Nikki, I'm going to add one quick thing to that. Is good. I think not only that, in addition to that, and this is not always fair to the women out there, but when you disappoint us, when you don't support us, when you don't have our back, the clock starts over.
Wow.
And you
might not a whole nother conversation.
I know that's next time. That's part 2. I just want you to know, right, that for some men, right, and it's not fair because it starts over. Because we gotta see if what happens. All right, in this next year, we're gonna see how you come back. We're gonna see if you make up for it. Now, where we go wrong is that we don't always tell you.
Right.
We don't always tell you what you did. But some men do, and it gets just started, and then we're like, oh, okay, I see that. Reset.
You can start this clock over again.
So, but let me, George. Okay, put a pin. We ain't got all night. We don't have all night. All right, but let's go back to, Harold opened a whole can of worms. This wasn't even on my topic to talk about, but I think it's very important because right now society is trending towards people living together, right? Yeah. And of course I grew up total Pentecostal. You was going straight to hell. We know theologically, right? We serve a God of grace. You're not going to go to hell for living with somebody. We understand that. But as therapists, right? As therapists and people who have worked with me and Harold have counseled couples for years. We work with couples. We understand the concept that he was just talking about, which is, that there is something about, first of all, the biblical command when God says, and then a mother, they shall leave his mother and father and they shall be joined as one flesh. There's something about connecting all of who I am to this individual, whether it's with my bills, whether it's with, in the bed, furniture, that requires God. I believe God wanted to protect us as women, to require us to have a covenant agreement that when I give you all of who I am, and that happens when we live together. You have access to everything outside of my hidden bank account. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother, my she money. That's what I call it. My she money. But you have access to everything with no covenant promise before. Because when we stand and get married, we're not promising the preacher. We're promising God. We're telling God, I swear on my life that I will not leave this person till I die, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the best that I can. But without that covenant agreement and I move in with you, I don't have to make that vow to you. I could walk away. But the argument is, I got to see if this is really going to work out. So we got to live together first. And so it goes back to that conversation of how long is too long. So let's just throw this out on the table. Living together, right? We're not married, living together. What do we say about this, I guess, at this point? As therapists, as, coaching, what do we begin to say? Harold's already kind of started it, but go ahead. George and Keith.
Yeah, Nikki, everything you're saying, I've seen, right? Like I've seen clinically where it is life. And there is something, yes, that you do know. I mean, just to be honest, right? You know how messy the person is. You know if they could cook or not, right? Like, but some of that stuff you can pay attention to, like even without living together. And I think it does go back to the places that once you sign the lease, are you willing to step? Are you willing to leave if it's not good? And I think that's what happens for a lot of people, is that they're not willing to make that decision. And so the living together starts to mean like now we got babies together. And now I'm praying that you will now propose and we'll get married. And it might not happen that way. And the truth is, we've also seen that just because people live together, they get married and then all of a sudden they get divorced because they still didn't work through all this stuff. They didn't deal with all of it. And now they got there and there's no real fruit there. So I think that there's a lot of challenges with living together before marriage, and it could just really set you up in a way that won't be fruitful for you and the future.
Right. Yeah, I think that I certainly believe that there's a lot of challenges. On the other hand, I also believe and know many that have lived together, prior to getting married, and they have an exceptional relationship, exceptional marriage, and it works for them. And I think that's crucial. It works for them. So it's interesting. Trying to figure out. Is she a neat freak? How is she in the morning? How is she in the night? Just different things. How is he? So does he cook? Does he not cook? Does he clean up after himself? Those are some of the things that we've heard, for years. That these are some of the reasons you want to test the water. How is he in bed? That's something that's been also a conversation to have, because when you're talking about marriage, you are talking about the rest of your life. And the conversation is, if the sex isn't where I want it to be, I have to deal with this the rest of my life. So I think that, continually talking, setting those boundaries. Again, we go right back to, to most of the questions with women. Setting those boundaries, I think, is important, for the women, and taking control, taking lead, in your situation.
Yeah. And I think, Keith, I hear kind of what you're saying, and I don't know if you're, saying you're advocating for people to live together, but I know I hear you saying that that's really what the conversations are. That's what the concerns are. In what people are saying. Is he good in bed? And we haven't even talked about sex before marriage. We can't get to that today. That's part 2, because it's important, because I have heard people say, I got to know he's good in bed. I got to know if he's neat or not. I got to know if he's blah, blah, blah. But many of this are conversations we need. And this is why we need the summer and winter. This is why we need to go through some cycles. And I do know people who have, dated only 4 or 5 months and got married and they're successful. It's very few of them. I can't say I know a lot of people, because the reality is you really need to understand who that person is. And so, a year or so, really understanding who that person is and feeling like you're having some deep, meaningful conversations. All right. So my husband, who was the timekeeper, told me that I need to open this up to conversation. And listen, this man is a total, he grew up on a military base. So he was like, all right, I'm gonna keep you in time and in step. So I'm gonna honor my spouse. One last question though. One last question. All right. So we're married, because I promised we we're gonna talk about a marriage question. I got at least 3 marriage questions. We didn't even get to that. We're married. Is it okay? No, let me back it up. We're married and my husband got a whole lot of female friends.
Uh-oh. Not me.
My husband has female friends. I got a problem with it. He's telling me I'm tripping. He's saying we've been friends for the longest time. That's one. Or my husband is in a position where he has females calling him, always wanting them to get help from him. He's a helper. He loves helping others. And every time someone calls, oftentimes it's a woman, he's running out the door to the rescue. What are we doing? What are we saying? What does that mean?
So I guess I'll start with this, because that, it's been part of my life, right? Like I do a lot of work. I have a lot of female friends. And that's how I got into this work, and because I was that guy that people could talk to. I think it does start with a strong foundation, right? It starts with someone knowing that you can trust your spouse, which I'm grateful for, that I can trust my wife and she can trust me. It also means transparency. She knows the account to my phone. There's nothing that I'm hiding from her. She wants to look at my phone. She's not that person, but if she needed to, I'm not like, oh, you can't look at that, right? So and if I'm going to meet with somebody, I'm also telling her, right? I'm letting her know, oh, I'm going to meet with so-and-so today, or I had a conversation with so-and-so. So there's that level of openness and transparency. What I see though is that for some people, they're like, oh, I'm going to hide my social media, or I'm going to put a lock on my phone, or there's a way that you don't know what's happening until it's too late. The challenge I have with this question is, I don't personally feel it's fair to say that I have to get rid of a long-term friendship if it is out in the open, if we are being transparent, if we were really guiding that, right? If the friendship is inappropriate, if that person crosses the line, yeah, cut them, whatever, right? But if the person is a good person and you are working together to get to know them, and it's now our friend, I don't think that person, just because you don't like that.
That's key. She's our friend.
Right.
She's our friend, but it's going to be still majority say my friend, but the person, you're cool, you've hung out, you can talk independently.
Correct.
That's fine. So that's kind of where I lean versus like you got to cut everybody. I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Harold.
No, go ahead, Keith.
No, it's interesting. I was thinking about, what's his name? Billy Graham. When he talks about his rules, he had a second rule, which means there's, with his wife, there's no meeting another woman, no traveling with another woman unless his wife is there, and it establishes again, that boundary. I think like George, one of the reasons I got into this business, because I'm pretty good at listening and I can give, some sound advice. And I have a lot of friends, I had a lot of friends that were females, and sometimes I, certainly would call them sisters. When you're in ministry, when you're talking to people, and, when you're just out and about, you meet certain people and they find you're sincere and you have a genuine nature in giving. But it's the naivety, I think, sometimes that, I had to be mindful of. If I could speak on myself, I certainly had to be mindful of other people's intentions, so I think just, understanding that, you want to share, your friends, You know, she may be more so my friend. We may have known each other for 20, 25 years, but if you are in that situation where you can share your friend, I think it's important to share your friend. And like Dr. James said, you know, talk to her, share with her, hey, this is what's going on. This is who I was talking to, and this is the situation, you know. Now, I think their response, you know, is important. That could be something that, you know, we talk about, because if their response isn't one that is acceptable, do you cut the friend off, or do you not tell them the next time that you talk to them? You know, I think their response is crucial in how you know, share the information.
That's
Yeah.
good. But listen,
Thanks.
before you hold on, Harold, because there's a question at the bottom. So let's jump right into and this is about the same question. Let's jump right into our question portion. We're going to take a few questions because it's getting late, girls. My husband is a minister. Where do you draw the line with female friends, female women?
Why did I?
Harold, you had that one, Harold.
All right. Well, actually, my response was going to be minister or not, you know, because I think it's about relationships and men and women. And so, you know, minister or not, I think it's all about boundaries. You know, I can, if we're being transparent, you know, when my wife and I were dating, you know, I was in college and I had a lot of female friends, and one of my best friends was a female. And I thought nothing of it. I had no romantic intentions. She was attractive, but I didn't have any romantic intentions. You know, we so what I was gonna say was, you know,
be careful.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I paused. But no, you know, we with our group of Christian friends, because I was in a Christian network, you know, we would all, you know, sleep over, you know, in each other's dorms, you know, so we did that, you know, we'd sleep on the floor and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, honestly, there was nothing that ever happened between us romantically. And in my mind, nothing would ever happen either. But the problem came when Nikki and I started dating, and she felt some kind of way about it. And it didn't matter how many different ways I cut it, sliced it, explained it, tried to share it. It
was a rat.
In her mind, either we did something in the past, or we're planning to do something, or, you know, if put in the right situation, we would. And so it really came down to, you know, my historical relationship with this woman, or my future relationship with this woman. And so she didn't lay that gauntlet out, but it's something in my mind I felt I had to do, because if I shifted the relationship that I had with this other woman, it just wouldn't be the same, you know? And so I made the conscious decision that, you know, for me, where I am, where I wanted to go, and the issues that Nikki was having with this, I decided to let that one kind of taper, you know, into a, you know, close friend, but not a, you know, best friend. And so I think, to George's point, or to add on to what George is shared, you know, it's that thing, different strokes for different folks. I mean, there are some mature relationships with a mature man and mature woman that they can handle those platonic relationships as long as there's transparency. But then I think there are other relationships that it will be the thing that will drive the wedge to drive them apart. And you just need to honestly know what side of the fence you land on, and be courageous enough to take whatever steps need to happen either way.
I'll add to that.
We got to jump into questions. So if there aren't any, we'll keep talking. But let me ask you, ladies, you're listening. If you have some questions, maybe about this particular topic, or some of you already started asking about the intimidation. We talked about men feeling intimidated. We talked about living together. We talked about how long is too long to be dating. Now is a time. We're opening up the question and answer session. If you have a question, I want you to post it right here And Irvina, if you are listening, I know you are, and I'm missing a question, post it right here for me so I can see it. If you guys have some questions, I would love for you guys to post these questions right here. So go ahead, George, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just saying that even with what I said earlier, to what Keith and Harold mentioned, at the end of the day, your spouse, your wife is number one and needs to be number one. And she needs to always know that. And so even my long-term friendships, they know who my wife is. They know I always talk about her. They know what position my wife is in, and my wife knows what position she's in. And so they're not in the best friend category anymore. They're not in even the good friends. They're just cool people. And that's the category that they stay in.
Okay. Awesome. So question, how do I not give off the intimidating vibe that I don't need anyone else in my life? That's a good question. This is really good. It's a legitimate, honest one.
Who's brave enough to step in the water first?
I don't care.
Go ahead, George. Jump right in, or Harold.
I'll say this as we're moving forward. I think a lot of it is tone, right? Sometimes like the way that people just say things, the tone that they say things. And I'm not saying that you need to be weak, you need to be soft, but there's some ways that the way that it comes across, it just feels like there isn't room or space for the guy. I do think there's a lot of guys that just need to be okay, because we will say to ourselves, we want a strong man, a strong woman. We'll say that we want a strong partner. We will say that we want somebody that will have our back. But then one day we see that sometimes we can be overwhelmed by it. And so one of the ways is paying attention to your tone, being willing to even ask questions to find out how does the other person think or feel, being also able to be patient, that he might take some time to warm up to figure out what his space is with you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, another question. Let me jump right in. Somebody else can answer this one. Why do men just ghost with no explanation? Somebody else maybe can answer that.
It's easy. It's easy to just ghost and not give an explanation. And in addition to, they may not feel that you're important enough to give that explanation. So it's
wow.
It's I'm out of here. I don't have you on a certain level, so I'm gone. And I don't have to give you an explanation of why I'm leaving. You figure it out yourself. Wow. I think that's also part of it. And some people, I do know some people, they instead of giving the explanation, they'll leave because they know she may be trying to pull him back. She may be trying to pull him back, and he may not have he may not be able to communicate verbally why he wants to leave, or simply had that conversation, so it could be a twofold thing.
Yes. Somebody else that may want to answer that. Why do men ghost?
I think the reason why, everyone does it, it's become trendy. It's become the popular way. I think social skills, as Harold mentioned earlier, that I don't know what words to say or how to say it. So it is, as Keith just said, it is easy. I don't like it. I think it's just a horrible way to deal with something. But, it's a way for us to exit. And unfortunately, it's what a lot of people do on both sides.
Got it. All right, guys, we are answering some questions. If you have some questions, put it out. Listen, I definitely believe that we have to do a part 2. It has gotten, because there are some other topics that I really, really feel like we need to have, such as sex before marriage. I think it's a very important topic to talk about when it comes time to being a Christian, and it being the trend. And we have definitely analyzed the reason why we have sex before marriage. But I want us to really talk through. I don't want to go into the hell brimstone stuff. I really want to talk about the health and wellness of that. And why did God actually set us up to not have sex before marriage? You know, we're here, we believe the Bible. But I think because we haven't been taught what the Bible talks about, but we also haven't talked about what it means for us in relationship and the ramifications it could possibly have for us in relationships, and how as women, many of us have gotten into a place emotionally where we have given our bodies, we've had sex, right? And what it means for us in the next relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so God did not treat sex casually. It's not like, oh, let's just go out on a date. It really was the most intimate, most personal thing. It was so intimate that he's like, this seals marriage. And so I really want us to have a conversation about that. I really want to talk about how do we recover after an affair or cheating when we're dating? You know what I mean? How do we work through those issues? I want to also talk about healthy marriages and, you know, what happens when you get into this marriage and now, you know, some of the things that I had going on in my head is not playing out in my life. And how do I get past the disappointment of, and we're talking about relationship rehab. Not everybody is feeling this, not everybody's experiencing this, but how do we begin to adjust our expectation to reality and really begin to embrace that? Because I know some marriages that fell apart they were good together. They were good together. They were good together. And they just could not get past these expectations. So I need you guys to schedule a part 2 in April, please. Inquire the ladies, we need it. It's late. I knew we weren't going to get to everything. Let me see if I've got one more question. I think we might have time for one more question. Let's look. Let me see. Let's see. All right. I think I've got one more question here. I don't even know if we can answer this question, but is there a difference between the sexes asking the question? So what are you looking for in a personal relationship? Should we even ask? So that goes back to the talk. And is there a difference in, and I think this is what Karen might be asking, is there a difference between when a male asks that question, when a female asks that question, and should a female even ask that question?
Well, I think going back to the response that we have already shared, you definitely should. The question is when, and we kind of talked around that a little bit. So yes, but when. And so what are you looking for in a person or a relationship? I don't know, just without giving it any, too much thought, I think that men are looking for the same thing that women are looking for, which is a partner. I mean, I think we may need different things. Right. Based on where we are and who we are and where we came from. But I think we're really looking for the same thing. Is this person going to be a partner, helpmeet, support, someone that I can, cry on, someone that's going to encourage me and support me? I think those are all the things that men are looking for. But the problem is, men don't come right out and say that.
Absolutely. No, I think men are also looking for someone that complements them, someone that they can build a business with. I think it's important that to know that I can build a business with this person, that when the business isn't thriving and we're at a low right now and we're not taking in a lot of money, that we can still survive together. I think that's what men are looking for, someone that complements them, someone that they can lock in with, and someone that they can continue to grow with, together,
So let me jump right in. So they won't mind me throwing the challenge question on the table, because that's what Karen's asking. Should I ask where is this going? Am I allowed to ask that? And if this is what you're looking for, you won't mind me putting this out on the table because you like that challenge. You're looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think so. I think women should ask that question. I think they should take the lead. And if that's what they feel and that's the space that they're in, ask the question, put it out there on the table, because you want to protect yourself. You don't want to be in a position where, you're moving and going in a direction where he's not going. And that's even before marriage. So imagine if you do it within the marriage, that you're not having this conversation. So have that conversation. Have that conversation early, be comfortable to have that conversation, and if it doesn't go that direction where you want it to go, be comfortable with the consequences. I think that's important too. Be comfortable with those consequences and tell yourself, look, you are important. You're worth it, to have this conversation. So, I think that's important to lay it out on the table. If you need to rehearse it weeks ahead of time, go ahead and rehearse it. If you need one of your girlfriends that's in your ear, talk to them. And sit her down, role play, and have that conversation of this is how it's going. Well, what if he says this? Well, now you got a response for that, so
Awesome.
have that conversation.
We're not in the Stone Ages, right? Your voice is important. You need to be able to take care of yourself, as we've been saying. You need to be able to advocate for yourself, right? It's not just wait around for him to make all the decisions. I mean, I don't believe in that. I don't think any of the men on this panel believe in that, right? Like, that's not what this is about. But there is a way to come correct. There's a way to approach the topic, right? You don't do it early. You don't do it with a tone, right? Just like he shouldn't do that to you either, right? Like, if he came at you, look, I got 6 kids and I want to get married right now, you should say, whoa, let's step back, right? Like, we want this, and it's just mutual respect. So your voice is important. Share that, bring it up, but also think about how you're going to say it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Al?
I don't have too much to say about that one. Can I actually go back to one of the other questions?
Yes.
Because I did have something to say, and that had to do with the one about women being intimidating and how they should present themselves, and so that they're not intimidating. Well, I think one of the things is that you want to be yourself. You want to be genuine. You don't want to hide yourself. Absolutely. But at the same time, men want a woman. Men want someone who they can, take care of and support. And so we want to be able to see, yes, you're Superman, or yes, you're Superwoman on the job. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're excelling. But you know what? I've got to be able to see that you can take that cape off so that you can be, a person that I can vibe with, that I can have a relationship with, and that, you may be a CEO on the job, but I don't need, you're not my CEO. And I don't need to feel, I don't need to feel, that I'm your employee. And,
yes.
and Nikki, I know that this may be the start, opening another can of worms going somewhere else, right. But I'm not going there.
No, this was really, it's really good that you're saying this now. And I'm saying, because that is such a great statement. You're not my CEO. And I think as women, we have to know the difference between being strong and being intimidating and bossy.
Right.
So no, I definitely, you're not in trouble tonight, baby. No, that is such.
Glad you cleared the air, because I was praying for him.
George is going to send you a text like, "You all right, man?"
Yeah.
Well, that's a great distinction, Harold, because I think it's a great way of explaining, because it's hard for us to understand, like, what do you all see as intimidating? Like, I'm just being here, like, I'm opinionated. I'm going to tell you, okay, I want the, can you please, vacuum the floor? Or I need you to do so-and-so. And it can come across like I'm the CEO.
Right.
And I love that you say that. I think that's a great explanation. That even helps me.
That's why I said it.
You know what?
No.
You in trouble now.
We got your back, Harold. Way back.
All the way from up here, Harold. We got your back.
I know.
All right, we're done. The session is over now. No, I want to thank you guys. Harold, is there anything else that you want to finish in saying about that?
No. Actually, I'm good. I enjoyed the time. Thanks for having me. I love the interaction with Dr. James and Keith.
Yeah. Last minute things that you guys want to say. 30 seconds or less. Go.
For me, you know, just own you. You know, just own you and know you're worth it. You know, create your own boundaries. Know your boundaries going into the dating scene. You know, just create them, own them, and just continue to be you and enjoy the moment. I think that's so crucial. And we have these ideas in our head and we play them out for months and weeks and years to come. But don't forget to enjoy the moment. I think that's so important, you know, and just enjoy dating, enjoy the moment, you know, take some of the tips that we've given you while we're opening up the mind of a man. So enjoy the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is great. I enjoyed it. Always fun hanging out with you all, and glad I could share. And, you know, once again, like, just continue to learn and to grow, be yourself, be your full self, but also recognize that, like, he has emotions, he's trying to figure things out, and he might not be just a scumbag. He might actually just be trying to figure it out. So give him the benefit of the doubt.
That's good. Ladies who are listening, I want to ask you all a question. If you want a part 2, I need to take a poll because we were only going to do this one and that's it. I don't like to beat a dead horse. Somebody put in the chat, y'all need to come to Ignite and do a panel. I'm kind of in the agreement column. But if you, first of all, give these men love. They've already said it's vulnerable for them getting up, talking, sharing. But if you want a part 2, type part 2. I need to kind of poll this. I need to see if there isn't a part 2, then we'll keep it moving in our relationship rehab. But I'm serious when I say this. Please, please type part 2. I'm really going to kind of take a poll to see, and we are going to come back. I got questions. I got a lot of questions, and I think my ladies got a lot of questions, and you guys are really helping to shed some light, and we haven't scratched the surface. So again, ladies, type part 2. If you want to see a part 2 in our relationship rehab, where we're talking about marriage, we're talking about divorce and dating after divorce. What does that look like? We're talking about getting over cheating. We're talking about coming into marriage with baggage. I'm going to say that 5 times. Baggage. The butterflies are gone. We got baggage. How do we get through some of that, right? How do we get past the I'm so excited to be married hump? And how do we really, so I want the next panel to really dive deep into, you know, relationships from a psychological standpoint, you know, as well as a theological standpoint. I do want to talk about sex before marriage. I think it's very important. Ladies who are listening, I want to thank all the guys, these guys who are here. Thank you, Dr. George. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, my boyfriend, my husband. Thank you, husband, for just taking out this time to really be a part. Remember, Ignite Women's Empowerment Summit, guys. Listen, I'm telling you right now, the sale ends on Monday. The sale ends on Monday. It is $75 right now. Go to www.ignitesummit.org. We are going to be in Wilmington, Delaware. Women are coming from all over the region. We have several coming from the country. We've got Real Talk Kim. If you've never heard her, you're going to love her. We've got Pastor Joy, Pastor Raina, Pastor Karen. We've got a host of workshop speakers that are going to be talking to us about our business, our ministry. We've got a teen summit this year. Woo! We're going to bring our teen girls, our daughters, to this conference this year. Right? We haven't opened up the teen summit yet. We will first week in April, but I want you to go to our website. Our sale ends on Monday. Our rooms, our overnight rooms are, I'm telling you, they are flying off of the shelves. I had a conversation with the hotel the other day, and she's like, oh my God, you guys are taking over the hotels right here. And you need to register for your room. You can reserve your room, then come back and register. You don't have to pay right away for that reservation, but I think you really need to go ahead and jump right in and get this sale. I've got a couple things coming up. Next week, we're going to talk about the 7 signs that he is the one. How about that? The 7 signs that he's the one. We're going to be talking about that. And then I'm really excited. April the 5th, I'm bringing on a millennial panel, dating and toxic relationships. Listen, this is for all the mothers. This is for all the millennials. This is for all the aunties, the grandmothers, anybody, if you have any connection with the millennial and even a younger millennial, Generation Z, I need you to be in the room April the 5th as we talk to these 3 powerful millennials who are going to share their story of dating, toxicity, depression, anxiety, and how you and us as a community of a tribe of women, we are responsible for the next generation. We have to turn around and grab these young people. We have to. The devil is not playing, my daughter included. And so I have 3 millennials who are going to be coming on this show. They are literally going to be sharing their hearts, their stories about abuse, what they've gone through, hurt, pain in their life, and how they've overcome it. And what we can do as mothers, aunties, grandmothers. And I want our millennials to be on as well. So if you have millennials in your life, ask them to join April the 5th. I'll be talking more about it. Come on, it's relationship rehab. We're rehabbing every single aspect of our life. I want to thank you all for joining us, for just being patient, for hanging in there. I thought this conversation was great. And I will see you all soon. God bless you. And I love you. Bye-bye.
Your brother's still on?